Okay, welcome back. In this video, we are going to practice solving percent problems looking for the part. We are going to be finding the part of the quantity. So let's go right ahead and move down to the scenario. All right, the scenario this time says, the Martin family has chickens that provide eggs for the family and a few left over for sale. Each day, their chickens lay 25 eggs. Some of the eggs that they get every day, there are 25 of them we've just learned. That's probably going to be important. Some of them they use for themselves, and some that are left over they sell to somebody. So let's go down and let's look at the first problem. All right, number one. It says, Mrs. Martin uses 40% of the eggs each morning for the family's breakfast. How many eggs does she use? So go ahead and stop the video now and try to solve this on your own. Okay, welcome back. So again, Mrs. Martin uses 40% of the eggs each morning for the family's breakfast. How many eggs does she use? Well, we know from what we've already learned that the number that's with the percent sign always goes over the 100, right? So 40% has to go right here. The 40 has to go right here, 40 over 100. And we know from the scenario before that the whole is 25. That's how many eggs in total the chickens lay every day. So the Martin family's chickens lay 25 eggs every day. So that's the whole. That goes on the bottom. We are looking for the part. We are looking for the part. So let's put the P right there. That's our variable, stands for part. We want to find out how many eggs out of 25 is 40%. Okay, so we cross multiply. Let me draw my little butterfly. All right, and we multiply the numerator with the opposite fractions denominator. I shouldn't say opposite, the equivalent fractions denominator. And we get 100p, p times 100 is 100p, equal to 25 times 40. 25 times 40 is 1,000. 1,000. Right? Because 4 times 25 is 100, and then we have to add another 0. That's 1,000. I want to get the p by itself. So I've got to divide by 100 because 100 times p, if I use the inverse operation, and I divide 100 times p by 100, it leaves me with just p. So there we have the p isolated. It's by itself. And I want to do the same thing to keep my equation in balance to the other side. Divide by 100, 1,000 divided by 100 is 10 because 100 goes into 1,000 10 times. So that means that P equals 10, which tells us that 40% of 25 is 10. That means if we were to answer the question, how many eggs does she use? We would write Mrs. Martin uses, sorry, my printing is not great on this pad yet, uses 10 eggs for breakfast. Okay, 10 eggs for breakfast. So hopefully you got 10 eggs. All right, let's move on to the next problem. The next problem, number 2, says that 20% of the eggs sold to the corral are sold to the Corral family next door. How many eggs are sold to the Corral family? So 20% of the eggs. Now remember, if we go back to the scenario, there are 25 eggs laid every day. And this next question is telling us that 20% of those 25 eggs are sold to the Corral family. So pause the video here and let's see if you can figure this one out. Okay, welcome back. Let's see how you did. So again, the 20%, the 20 is with the percent sign, so that has to go over the 100, 20%. We already know that the whole is 25 because that's how many eggs the chickens lay every day. And we want to know what 20% of 25 is. So again, let's cross multiply. Let me put in the p variable for part. Cross multiply 100 p is equal to 2 times 25 is 50, add another 0. So sorry about the technical difficulties here. So it's equal to 500. And we want to isolate the p, so we've got to divide by 100 because 100 times p must be divided by 100 to get just p. That's the inverse operation. So we must do the same thing to the other side, divide 500 by 100, and we get 5. So p is equal to 5. How many eggs are sold to the Corral family? We could say the Corral family, family buys 5 eggs. 5 eggs. Okay? All right. For the last of the 3 problems, let's take a look at this one. It says, once the 2 families have gotten their eggs, what percent of the eggs remain? How many eggs are left to be sold to someone else? Please use the proportion method to solve. So think about the previous 2 problems where we learned how many eggs the Martins use for breakfast and how many eggs the Corral family buys every day. And try to solve this one on your own. We'll see you in a minute. Okay, so let's see how you did. So the 2 families have gotten their eggs. So we know that the Martin family, they use 10 eggs for breakfast, and we know that they sell 5 eggs to the Corral family. So that is a total, if I'm not mistaken, of 15 eggs, right? 10 plus 5 equals 15. So 15 eggs have been used up. And we know that there are 25 eggs in total, okay? 25 eggs in total that are laid every day minus 15. So that leaves 5 minus 5 is 0, 2 minus 1 is 1. That leaves 10 eggs, 10 eggs, all right? And we want to know what percent, this time we're getting away from the part, right? We know that there are 10 eggs out of 25, and let's use R again for our percent problem. This one's a little different. So let's do cross multiplication. We're going to answer this question. We're going to find out what percent of the eggs remain. So 25 R equals 10 times 100 is 1,000, right? Is 1,000. So we need to divide by 25 to get the R by itself. We're isolating the R. Oops, I need to say 1,000, don't I? I need to write 1,000. And we need to divide the 1,000 by 25. Well, how many times does 25 go into 1,000? We know that it goes into 100 4 times. So that means we need to add a 0. And R is equal to 40. So that means that 10 out of 25 is 40%. 10 is 40% of 25. So we could write 40% of 25. And then the eggs left to be sold to somebody else we know are 10. That's the part. And we just used what we knew from the previous problems and subtracted from the whole to be able to find that out. So 10 eggs remain, or 40%. All right, in the next video, we're going to learn how to solve for the whole. So I'll see you there.